I'm Joe Santamaria. I'm the Chief Information Officer at PSEG. So we run all the IT functions for our power business, our shared services, and our both gas and electric utility. I started in the energy industry when I joined UIL Holdings. It's an electric and gas utility based out of Connecticut, now called Avangrid, but I joined them about 6 years ago as a CIO, and that was my first foray into energy and utilities. I've worked in many industries. I worked in pharmaceuticals, high-tech, consumer products. I've done some consulting. I was attracted to energy because energy is everywhere. It doesn't only move the world, it moves the universe, right? So you wanna, I have a physics background. I studied physics and a master's in industrial physics, actually. So the whole concept of the electric and gas networks, it's well known that the electrification of the US in the 20th century was one of the largest, accomplishments of the human race, and I just wanted to be part of it. So the industry, I would say, is doing a fairly good job at taking advantage of the fact that because of our nature as an industry, we can share with each other maybe more than other industries. It's probably less competitive in terms of different players, and we make good use of that through a number of organizations that involve utilities, it involves government agencies, it involves communities, it involves regulators. And we work through, I said, many of those agencies to share information, to coordinate response, to ensure that any threat intelligence is quickly disseminated, that any challenges or events that are happening in a utility are shared with the intelligence agencies, and then that information is disseminated across the utilities, and we react to that. With the electric subsector coordinating council, or the ISAC. We also, through our Data Center Electric Institute, we have a group of people called the Cyber Mutual Assistance Program, where we share resources into a pool, and those resources are available to any member to draw from in case of need, in case of an event or preparation. So we do simulations throughout the year. We do exercises, tabletop scenarios at the state level, at the government level, at the federal level. And the industry is really very focused on cybersecurity. Obviously, we protect and we operate critical infrastructure for the nation, and we take that very seriously. We're very aware of the risk of cyber in our industry and others, and we're very focused on it. For each of us at the company level, I'd say there's three things we focus on. One is talk about people, process, technology. On the people side, making sure our employees are aware of what's at stake with cyber. 93% of all cyber attacks start with email or some sort of spam. Somebody trying to phish an employee, trying to get them to click or infect a machine, piece of equipment. And so we spend a lot of time training, doing simulations for phishing attempts. We have a pretty strict policy in terms of what expectations are from employees. So we want to make sure that people are prepared, they know how to respond, they know how to identify these type of attacks, and as I said earlier, that they know what's at stake, to take it seriously. We also invest a fair amount in technology, always looking for what tools based on the type of intelligence and how the attack vectors are evolving, make sure our technology is ready to deal with those. And that means not only deploying solutions, but also how we architect the different control systems. So we try to separate as much as we can some of the critical components from the internet, making sure that things are isolated, and lower the risk profile and the attack surface for some of our solutions. And then obviously from a process perspective, there are a number of maturity models with the Department of Energy C2M2 model, cyber capability maturity model that we benchmark against and make sure that we follow best practices. We're aware of what the best practices are and that we're compliant and we're adopting them as they evolve. Customers want what I call the 4 C's: cost, convenience, choice, and context. So I'll start with cost. Utilities, at the end of the day, we sell a commodity. It's a critical commodity. Without gas and electricity, we'd all be in deep trouble. But we sell a commodity, so we sell it to everybody in the state and everybody in the country. So we want to make sure that regardless of your income level and your situation, you can afford electricity and to heat your home and power your fridge and so on and so forth. So cost continues and will always continue to be a key element, key focus area for utilities when it comes to customer experience. But the experience of customers, the needs, the expectations are evolving. Customers want more choice, and it goes beyond the channel choice in terms of how they will interact with us, whether it's through a phone or a web channel or a mobile or an Alexa type interaction, all the way to what's the type of energy they're going to consume. Do they want energy that is a little bit cleaner? Maybe they have a trade-off between cost and green energy. They're willing to pay maybe for energy that's built of different, a particular type of source. Those are choices that we need to offer to customers. Context, there's more and more, we all want information that is applicable to us. So we want to know when is, in case of a power outage, when is my power coming back? What does it mean to me? What should my expectations be if I have a need for a crew to come over? When are they going to be? When are they? So just providing contextual information to customers. And the last one, convenience. Convenience is, we're all very used to having quick interactions, information at your fingertips. If you don't want to call, you don't call. If you want to, just make the interaction easy, pleasant for our customers, so that they can keep going back. Our JD Powers, we are very focused on our customer experience. We track within the company our JD Powers scores, and we focus on customer satisfaction significantly, both at the residential, commercial, and industrial levels. The industry is moving more towards energy that is based on renewables, that comes out of renewable sources. If you think about the electric model over the last 100 years, it's been a very linear model. You had a power plant, you had transmission lines, and you had a load or a consumer. As we're shifting more towards renewables, there's 2 things that happen. One, renewables are distributed. So you can have one in every rooftop potentially. You could have windmills, you can have car batteries, you can have sources of energy that are not as concentrated in a power plant location as they were in the past. And they're not as reliable. It could be a cloud, it could be winds not blowing. A power plant is very reliable. You can expect, what to expect, and it's going to produce it 99% of the time or a high percentage. With a renewable source of energy, that predictability changes. What that's going to drive is for a need to have a network that is not as linear, it's much more distributed in terms of sources and load and consumption points. And that all has to be instrumented in terms of how it needs to be managed, right? The degree of information and real-time data you need to get from a network that's constantly changing and adjusting is much higher than what you need from a predictable linear network or model as we had in the past. So all that needs to be instrumented. It means from sensors, what type of sensors we need to put in the field, what type of sensors and information we need to have about weather patterns, how can we predict it, what information has to be processed centrally versus what information cannot be processed centrally because there's no time to get data from the sensor or the point of generation back to a central command, process what needs to be processed, and then distribute it back to with an action item. So the whole digitization of the grid, the electric grid, is a lot of it is ahead of us. Making a number of investments to make sure the grid is resilient and we can, based on some of the storm patterns we had in the past, that we can be better prepared to ensure that the lights stay on through major sandy type of events. But a lot of work needs to be done still on instrumenting for renewables and making some of the things we talked about earlier in terms of customer choice, type of energy, more viable and widespread than we have today. So that's probably a key focus. That will also result in new products, new offerings, as there's more and more information that gets captured in terms of how customers use energy. customers, what kind of choices and expectations customers have. There'll be an opportunity to serve them better, to meet their expectations better, and maybe even create new products and new offerings that we're not thinking of today. The energy sector should, in terms of talent, talk about what we do. There's very little that can be done in the world without electricity, without power. Whether that attracts you because you're an engineering type of individual who likes technology and likes engineering, or you concerned about the climate and you want to join the energy sector to go to more cleaner sources of energy, or you're concerned about reliability, you're concerned about infrastructure and cybersecurity, and you want to, there are a few industries, financial is probably one of them, but energy, there are a few industries that are as critical in terms of cybersecurity as electricity and critical infrastructure. So there's a lot we have to offer to graduates. We have a number of programs within the state of New Jersey and in New York where we visit universities and schools, colleges to look for interns. We hire about 15 to 20 interns every summer, and we stay with them. We have a very solid program where they come, they do real work. We don't just train them or give them stuff on the sides to do. We give them real work. We put a support network, and we have folks who watch over their shoulders. But fundamentally, when you join an internship at PSEG, you have real accountability. You have to deliver projects, you have to operate some system, and you have to do real work. So that's attractive to somebody who's in college and school and wants to get, is eager to contribute and get their hands on something. We offer that. Once you join PSEG as an entry level or a recent college grad, we have a program called ITAP, where we rotate our recent hires through different parts of the IT department. So spend 3 to 4 months in doing application type of work, spend 3 to 4 months doing infrastructure work, then they work on processes and some of our CMI and agile capabilities and improving how we work within IT. And then last, they spend some time in the cybersecurity space in our department, information security department. So I think as an industry, we have a lot to offer in terms of what you do here. And then as particular companies, we do have, like everybody else, to compete for talent. It's scarce out there, and we do that through engaging early, making sure people understand what we have to offer and what they can do here, and giving them meaningful opportunities to contribute. So we've been taking thousands of data points from the plants for a long time and fitting that into a historian database. And what we've done recently is take all this data and feed it into what we call a monitoring and diagnostic center, which is a set of data scientists that have a number of solutions available that what allow them to do is to build models around a digital twin, create a digital twin to a physical asset. So that they now feed the data that we've had for a long time into those models, and they are able to predict how that physical component should behave to the extent that they see that behavior, the physical behavior, it's not consistent with what the prediction is from the digital model. They take action. Maybe something's about to break, starts to vibrate, starts to get hot or whatever. And then we can, we go and take a look at it before it breaks, fundamentally. And that's allowed us to avoid a number of problems in the plants, because we can detect them and predict them now before they happen. It allows us to perform maintenance with a better heads up, which allows us to structure and schedule the maintenance at a more convenient time within the plant. If you're in a reactive mode, when something breaks, you have to change it then. Whether there's a high need for energy or energy costs and prices are high at that point or not. Now we have more, as we have more visibility and more time to schedule the maintenance work, we can do it at a time that is less disruptive and more convenient for us. It's improved, anything that improves energy availability helps our customers. We all count on energy and electricity. Also when there are constraints in the market, because a plant is down or for any reason energy prices spike and go up. So anything that has to do with having a predictable, reliable source of energy helps prices, helps the quality of the product we produce, and obviously helps our internal operations. That's what the M&D Center, the Monitoring and Diagnostic Center that we built over the last couple of years has been helping us. So the digital transformation journey, first thing I think you have to think of is where do you think this is all going? Clearly the industry is in the process of changing and changing materially. Maybe in the next 10, 20 years will change more than the last 60. The advice for the CIO would be think big, be bold. Don't be afraid to try new technologies. We try a number of new things here, whether they're cloud solutions or open source. We try to go where the market is. You always move faster if you swim with the current than against the current. So take advantage of the innovation that's happening in a number of industries. And then the last thing I say is be ready to fight and compete for talent. The need for talent continues to increase. Technology and IT is more and more pervasive in every industry, and utilities are no exception. And that will require the right talent and the right solutions to realize the opportunities ahead of us. STEM in the country is something that still needs to be addressed. Students going into engineering and sciences and technology fields is below what it should be. And there's going to be in my view, a shortage of talent that we need to prepare for. That's why we're investing PSEG in making sure we have a good college grad and we attract professionals at all levels, entry, middle, and experienced professionals.